Hello and welcome back. Happy New Year. This is Ranbir Puar. If it's our first time meeting, um, thank you so much for sticking around and checking out my channel. I am a life strategies coach. I have been doing this work since 2009. I am an author and a speaker. I guess, best known for my TEDx talk called Building Strong Children. And I am raising my two incredible sons on the west coast of Canada with my husband. And if you're listening on the podcast, which is Living Light Radio, I appreciate you tuning in as well. I am trying to do double duty and do both conversations in one, multitasking. No, single tasking, but multi-platforming, that is. So 2021 has been an interesting start for us as a collective. And, you know, the theme of the channel here is to learn to like yourself and learn to like your family, you know, strengthening those relationships under your roof. And really, that's sort of the relationships that are in your heart, because that's kind of when I think about it deeply, those are the ones that matter the most. And when you think about that and you think about what's going on in our space, we feel a lot of thick energy. I think that's kind of the best way to describe it. It's this heavy, not necessarily bad or good, just thick. And it's kind of like walking through mud. And it's a workout. It's a workout. So, what can we do to make ourselves feel a little bit lighter? So, maybe we don't have to walk through the thick energy, maybe we float above it, right? And what can we do to do that? And so, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about that floating above and how do you float above that thick energy and still stay grounded and still stay. Wow. I pretend and say, well, I guess it's not even pretend to say English as my second language. I can say that legitimately. That's why I'm having a hard time speaking right now. Anyway, I kid. um, it's how do you stay afloat and still stay grounded? And one of the ways that I think you can do this, and you can teach your children how to do this, is learning how to be congruent. Whew, that's a big word. It's a big word for some people. And so, what this means is being the same on the outside that you are on the inside. I think a lot of the thickness we feel is we don't feel free to express ourselves fully as we did maybe a year ago. And we feel a constant level of potential eyes on us and judgment of our perspective, which is very undemocratic and not something we're used to. So there is an adjustment for that. And so the best way to overcome this, I believe, is to practice in safe environments. Sorry about this. So how do you practice being congruent in safe environments? And what do you define as a safe environment? And how do you teach that to your child? And so I think you start under your roof, you start at home, and you allow each other, if you live with other people. And if you don't, you can practice this safely in your workplace or with your other family members and so on. There's other ways you can practice this. But it's being consistent on the outside as the inside. So when you're feeling like you have an opinion or a perspective, it's safe to have that dialogue in your house. It's important to have that dialogue in your house. But most importantly, what happens in the house or under the roof is we tend not to share the good stuff. So we tend to use it as a dumping ground. And so that adds to that feeling of thickness that you have, because now this place where you previously used as your sort of dumping ground, where you would come and dump all your stress or unflattering emotions on, and now that's kind of the soup you're stewing in all the time. So, in order to be congruent, you have to recognize that there's more to you than just the negative dialogue or just the struggle that you feel. You actually have a lot of light. You have a lot of creativity. You have a lot of joy. And maybe you have some really good jokes. I love a joke. Oh my gosh, if you have any, send them my way. I love, love, love to laugh. So, a silly sense of humor. So, how do you do this? I think it's practicing. I think it's practicing and auditing. So, what do I mean by that? It means paying attention to how you communicate under your roof. Are you 80% negative with your family? Are you 50? Are you 20? Like, what does it look like? It doesn't really matter when you're doing the audit. The audit is meant to be a realistic measure of what is. Because you know what is very difficult is this fake it till you make it, pretend, pretend, pretend. That's all that does is sucks your life force from you. Be real, like you're in your house, be safe, and audit. And then what you try to do is day by day put your awareness on being congruent. So being your full self, full spectrum self, and see if you can increase it by 5% a day, 10% a day. You pick the number. So if you have maybe 2, 3 hours a day total, because we don't really actually have a lot of time with our family members in the day, because most of the time somebody's at work, somebody's at school, you're separate. So the time that you have together, monitor it, please, and pay attention to what's coming out of you. What are you producing in your conversations? Because right now, these conversations in your house, these conversations in your head are really, truly vital. And it's really important to be your full self and to stop using the house just as a dumping ground of your negative experiences and your anger and frustration. It's there for that too. So the cool thing about that is when you get to practice being congruent in your home and this sort of safer environment, and you bring an awareness to yourself in that environment, you get to take that outside of your house or onto your Zoom calls and allows you to have a greater expression of yourself. The neat thing about being able to be the full expression of who you are, whether you're an adult or a child, is that's when you feel like you're floating because you feel like you're being true to yourself. You're being honest about who you actually are, your, your spectrum, you know, it's really a cool, cool practice. And so I thought I'm not going to share a lot of different tactics with you about this today because everybody is struggling right now and there's too much to think about, yet not enough to think about. We're stuck in that like no man's land, like I said, of that thick energy. So that's the tip I have for today. I have this suggestion for congruence, starting at home, starting with sharing the good and the struggles, and then projecting that out to the outside world. One of the cool ways we used to do this in the corporate world way back when, when I used to go work in the office and the boardroom and all that kind of stuff, is we would have meetings in the morning where we would share something that we're struggling with. So the people on our team could help us out and offer suggestions to overcome the hurdle. And the other thing we would share is something that we feel like we're succeeding at. And the cool thing about that is that, success leaves clues. So maybe somebody else in your household or in your unit can benefit from something you feel is going well for you. And the opportunity is there for you to celebrate each other's success. So it grows the sense of community in your household. It grows the sense of self, of course, because we all want to feel like we're leading the way or lighting the path for somebody else. We want to feel like we're contributing. So the cool thing about sharing a struggle and a strength every single day, you could do it at dinner, is allowing you to show vulnerability and strength. Be congruent. So that is what I have for you today. I wanted to keep it simple, keep it light, keep it manageable so you have the opportunity to go practice this in your life because I think it's super important and it's easy to do and it's a great way to start. So remember, we're going to recap today's session. One is audit, have an awareness of what sort of level of congruence you have in your closest relationships in your house and the people that you love. How do you speak to them and with them? And then making sure that you have an opportunity to share a struggle and a win every single day. I appreciate you sticking around and watching this video. I really, truly appreciate your support for the work that I do. I am honored and always very humbled by the messages because and also it's the fuel in the tank that helps me keep going. So thank you so much for that. I will see you next time. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you so much.